Blessings, everyone. Namaste. So happy you're here joining me. I have like something in my eye here. Let me move it. Okay. Sorry. One more. There we go. So, welcome to Sunday Night Alive. We're doing a very, very fun topic tonight. Unclutter your consciousness. My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. I am here on behalf of all of us living practical spirituality, that we come together to be in spiritual community. We come together to raise our vibration. We come together to expand our energy. We come together to think a new thought. We come together to come out of the fear, doubt, and worry in the world we live in. And all of that in the name and the nature of practical spirituality, doing what we do so that our lives can be better and we can contribute to a healthier planet. So if you're with me tonight and you want to say hello, say hello. Hi, Heather. So happy to see you. Always happy to see your name pop up. Oh, I wish I was there. I just give big hugs to everyone. This is a really important conversation. The end of the year, there are two things happen about this time of year. One is the end of the year, which opens a space for a new declaration for 2023. Also, spring cleaning is upon us, that we're moving into a time where spring cleaning is happens in most homes, happened in my home. Every spring we would take the rugs outside and de-dust them. We would wash the floors. We would do all the things we needed to do to create a fresh start out of the long huddled down winter months. So, but we're going to look at it today really from the standpoint of how, we're going to look at what it means to unclutter your physical space, your bodies, your calendars, and your consciousness. And why would we do it, and what's the value of doing it? Because most of us, our lives are way too cluttered with things we don't need. But before we dive into that, I would love to speak a word of blessing upon us, just to simply name our time together spiritual, to name our time together wonderful, and to invite us into, all of us, into a space of open-heartedness and open-mindedness, so that our time together is useful. Our time together makes a difference in our personal, individual, everyday lives. Yes? So join with me by taking a breath, maybe the deepest breath of your day so far. The breathing in of that breath invites us into a centering down, invites us into remembering that we are here, invites us into a moving that energy from without to within. And it is in that consciousness and in that space I just bless our time together, calling it good and very, very good, knowing that this topic is pertinent, knowing the contemplation of it opens some space in more ways than one, and that we are so blessed by being together tonight. Join me in that blessing for yourself and each other by saying, and so it is. Amen. So uncluttering. Now listen, before we dive into this, you all know I am the master of uncluttering. I'm a person who last March sold everything I own except for 5 suitcases full of clothing and legal documents and treasures, and have not regretted a moment of it. And my sister, Janelle, interestingly enough, she too, when we were moving in together, which has changed, but we were for a time going to move in together, and she packed up 57 boxes in her house and sent them into storage. And they have been there for 3 months because the whole thing fell through. And she, interestingly, has not missed any of it. And she has to get it back now to go through it. And she doesn't even know what's in there. So it's just so interesting, our relationship with our belongings, our relationship with our memories, our relationship with our all of it. It's just very, very interesting. So if you're joining me, please do check in. I'm going to give you all now a little space around the word clutter. So clutter has two definitions. One is as a noun, which it means it is a collection of things lying around in an untidy mess. And as a verb, the word means to crowd something untidily, to fill with stuff. So that's really our working definition for clutter, is just imagine let me paint a picture for you. Imagine in front of you was an empty room, a completely empty room with big windows, sunlight streaming through the windows, but there's nothing in the room. It's just a big empty room. And when you walk into that room, you have, because it's empty and there's nothing in there, you can do whatever you want to in this room. You can dance, you can run, you can lay on the floor, you can sit by the window and look out. You can sing at the top of your lungs. In this room, anything is possible because there's nothing else in it. So imagine then taking that room and putting some things you love. Like you could, you could put a cozy chair, you can put a little tea table, a TV maybe, whatever it is you love, you can bring into that room. You can bring in a vase of flowers. But imagine that you, without too much thinking, started filling that room up with all kinds of things, a lifetime of furniture and lamps and pictures and knickknacks and magazines and books and your kids' stuff and photo albums. And just imagine that eventually in this room, you would not be able to move in this room at all. You would have to, navigate your way around furniture. You would have to you'd have to snuggle through stacks of things. And in that room, there would be less daydreaming taking place. There would be less dancing. It would be cluttered. It would be full of things that maybe you don't love, and maybe that are just in your way of spaciousness. So really, we kind of I want us to look at that in our spaces, in our bodies, in our calendars, and in our minds. Can we unclutter any of those things? We have, all of us, I'm telling you, we have way too much stuff that we don't want or need, that gets in the way of our feeling free. Now, our clutter costs us. I'm going to tell you what it costs us before I tell you why we have it. But you know why we have it. But it costs us our sense of freedom and spaciousness. It costs us our connection to nature and to ourselves. If there's too much clutter in the mind or too much clutter in our space, we cannot think. Too much activity in our calendars, we cannot breathe. So it causes too much stuff we don't want or need, causes us to lose ourselves. So we want to unclutter and declutter so that we can find ourselves again, so we can be surrounded by the things we love. Now, the question might be, why do we have so much baggage everywhere? And by the way, we all do. I'm telling you. I remember Ernest Holmes I remember hearing that he said this many, 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 many years ago, that if you want to see what a person's life is like, just look at what's around them. And I remember when I heard that, I wanted to throw up, because he's talking about just look in their car, look in their trunk of their car, look in their closets, look at their checkbooks, look at their health, look at the state of affairs in their rooms, their underwear drawers, that as within, so without. that if you want to know what a person believes about life, about themselves, you want to know what a person thinks, just look at what shows up in life. And I know that for myself, for a long time, and for many, many people, that our garages are stacked to, you can't even walk in them. We have closets that would be an embarrassment if anybody you walked in and opened up your closet, right? So we do have a lot of stuff. So why? Why do we have so much stuff? Why is it so hard to get rid of this stuff? Well, listen, I don't know where the law came from that we had to keep our great grandmother's china for eternity. Do you understand who made that rule that you can never throw out anything that your family ever accumulated? Who made the rule that we have to clean our plates, that you cannot leave anything on the plate? We live in a consciousness of not enough, lack, and limitation. So how could it, do you really think you'll ever be a size 4 again? Yet all the size 4 clothes are still in some of our closets, right? I'm telling you, they're just taking up room for the right size clothes. Like we cannot, you cannot fill a cup that is full already. You cannot add anything to it. A lot of our stuff we have because it fills the empty places inside. So to backtrack for a moment, my whole shtick here, and hopefully also the reason you're here, is because we want to live a spiritually powerful life. We want to live above the denominator of suffering. We want to live in a way that our lives are fulfilled and happy and satisfying and meaningful. I love this quote. I love this quote by by Thoreau, who says that most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with their song still inside them. And if you remember, Henry David Thoreau was lived Golden Pond, that he went out into nature to live, to see what it would be like to live with none of the trappings, none of the clutter that normally surrounds our lives. So to even look at this conversation is to look and see how our livingness is impeding our spiritual growth. So without a spiritual center, without a spiritual path, most of us feel an empty space that we are trying to fill. And before our spiritual awakening, our conscious spiritual path begins, most of us fill that empty space with things. And those things could be shopping, those things could be gambling, those things could be alcohol or drugs, those things could be food. All of that clutters up the space that we need to fill that hole, to discover within ourselves the wholeness and perfection that we really are. So for many of us, our belongings, it doesn't necessarily mean we love them, but we have them. They give us definition and meaning. And to live a spiritually powerful life, we need to find our definition meaning from a deeper place than our knickknacks. So a lot of much of our stuff is also, we have clutter because we were never trained to process our feelings. We were never trained to feel anything. So rather than feel things, we add more things to our world around us. We also don't know how to complete things, like put an exclamation point in the end of something. I think it took me 25 years to throw out the wedding pictures of my first husband and I. Now, mind you, I've been married many times, so to hang on to this picture it's just clutter. Our lives become full of memories, full, good and bad, full of clutter, which prevents us from dancing in our empty rooms. So, now there are some spiritual principles that There are some spiritual principles that too much clutter, I'm going to tell us how to declutter in a minute, but there are some spiritual principles that apply here. And remember that we live in an energetic universe that is governed by spiritual laws and principles. And if you are cluttering your space with stuff you don't want or need, or you don't want to get rid of, and I promise you, if you have a closet somewhere, if you have a garage, especially if you have a garage, especially if you've lived in a house for a long time, uh, I would bet money that it's true that 99% of the stuff in your garage you haven't touched, looked at, thought about, felt, held, or cuddled for years. So, one of the spiritual principles is the law of circulation. The law of circulation requires that there's a flow of giving and receiving, a flow of output and input. And the flow of circulation is really important in uncluttering your spaces, because you may not be a size 4 anymore, but there are a lot of size 4 people out there who really need size 4 clothing. There are a lot of people out there who really would love the things you no longer love or want. So to hang on to them for any reason whatsoever, any reason. I mean, why would you hang on to them? Why? You're afraid of letting them go. You think they might be worth money. They uh, they have sentimental value. Sentimental value is teensy overrated. Now, I'm not saying there are not some things that have value, but I am saying that to have your life full of old memories, too many of them will keep you rooted in old memories and not let in new memories. Now, also in the Bible it says you cannot put new wine in an old wineskin. So this law of circulation is important because you need to keep things in circulation in life. If you will take the clothes you never wear out of your closet will have space for new clothes to come in, right? If you, so you get the idea. Yes, this law of circulation, it's important. There's also the law of growth or evolution. So nothing in life stays the same. Everything in nature, everything evolves. Everything. Nothing stays the same. So every year trees drop their old leaves so that they can grow new ones. You and I are evolving beings. We are growing, we are changing, we are becoming more and never less. And a lot of our accumulation of things prevents us from actually stepping into a brand new, never before, brand new baby day space. So the law of growth says that we have to let go of the old in order to embrace the new. Now, does that mean, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Does it mean that we have to throw everything out? Of course not. You might. I kind of did. But I didn't. By the way, I didn't throw anything out. In fact, these pictures behind me, these were in my house, and I am living in the house. I'm renting the house from the people who purchased my car, and they also bought my photography. So do you kind of get this, how weirdly wonderful this is? So they're now enjoying my photography. I'm now enjoying my old photography. And it's nothing for me because I own the print, right? I own the negatives of these. I can have these printed for myself again anytime I want to. So one of the things, we haven't gotten to the how to yet, but one of the things you can do is to literally just go room. You have to do it fast. You can do it slowly, but to go room by room and to say, do I still want this? Does it mean something to me? Because we are lovers. You should love your surroundings. You should love your belongings. You should treasure them. You should use them. And if they're not used or treasured or loved, find somebody who will love, treasure, or use them. right? You don't have to keep them. There's no law that says that you have to keep your grandmother's china. There's no law that says you have to keep your size 4 clothing, that, or whatever it is. Um, and then there's also, of course, the law of energy. The law of energy is we need spaciousness. We need space. We need space. And too much stuff. We've all, hoarding is kind of a word that's used to describe excessive clutter, extreme clutter, morbid clutter. But many of us, even in our own spaces, we have too much clutter. We have too much stuff that we don't know where it is. We don't know what it is. And whatever that is, it's taking up energy. It's taking up space for you to think and daydream and plan. So we have the law of circulation, the law of growth, and the law of energy, all participating in this conversation tonight, which is, can we create more space in our lives? Now, let's talk about how to approach. And remember, I'm going to bring us back to the reason. The reason is because you are here on planet Earth because you chose to be here on planet Earth. You are here occupying a body in order to, I think, two things really. One is to experience the deliciousness of this environment, that the world we live in is so beautiful, so delicious, so exciting, that we chose to come here with our eyes, our ears, our nose, our taste, our senses in order to celebrate and to enjoy it. That's number one. We also came here to participate in the evolution of all that is. So you have a gift to give. You have a reason for being. We are not here. I'll share this other quote with you. We are not here. This is the Shaw quote. I love this. He says, "This is the true joy of life, the being used up for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod," should be clod, "of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy." So the true joy of life is being used up for a purpose that we say is worthy of us. So we want to have the energy, the space, the time to grow and to actually give those gifts, to actually do the work that we've come here to do. So, uncluttering. So we already talked about your physical space a little bit. Just go through, really get some bags, get some boxes, and begin to go through little by little. Every room, every drawer, every closet. Is it useful? Do I want it? Will I, and if you may not need it for 10 years, but just go buy another one when you need one, right? Because somebody needs that potato peeler today. Who needs 4 toasters? I'm being silly, but you understand what I'm saying. So room by room, closet by closet, hire some help. If you need help, hire somebody. Really, anything to end up with a space that you can dance in, a space that you can daydream in. There are people who want your things. There are people who love your things, care about your things. Now, the mind is not so much different than your physical space, but it is a unique kind of uncluttering. And it's deeper. Well, I don't know that it's deeper, because here's the deal. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if your outer world is cluttered, chances are your inner world is cluttered as well, because that's just kind of how the universe works, is as within, so without. So as always, uncluttering the inner space, your mind, means a couple of things. One is to continue to do the work of releasing the past, to continue to do the work of forgiveness, continue to do the work of putting an exclamation point or a period at the end of experiences. You know, one of my favorite movies is Seabiscuit, and I've told this, I've done many sermons on this movie, but there was a scene in the movie where very early on where the horse broke his leg and the jockey broke his leg. And so early in this movie, the tragedy happened so early in the movie. It was like, God, where can it go from here? This is just like the worst of the worst. The tragedy happened. But the brilliance of the movie is it didn't stop at the tragedy. The movie kept going to reveal the miracle of healing, the miracle of the phoenix rising, the miracle of the story moving beyond the tragedy. Unfortunately, for most human beings, we freeze frame at the tragedy, right? So your husband divorces you, your parents get divorced, your heart gets broken, your house burns down, something happens, and we get stuck there for the rest of our lives, that we never get beyond the tragedy. So part of uncluttering our consciousness is to come to terms with what has happened by putting a period at the end of it and recognizing that the miracle is yet to come. The blessing is yet to be made. So uncluttering our minds, part of it could be truly releasing the past in the deep awareness that God doesn't leave us in the mess. God takes us into the blessing. We could do a whole talk about this tonight, so I'm sorry because it's kind of deep, but you can re-listen to this because you might need to do that work of saying that that was then. I survived, I'm alive. I'm still a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. I'm not defined by the past tragedy. The blessing is yet to come. That will free up energy. It will get things into circulation. And also to recognize that our brains are kind of, we are both receivers and transmitters of thoughts. So to unclutter your mind, you might have to stop doing some things. You might have to leave the news off for a while, stop reading the newspaper, stop hanging out with negative people. You might have to stand guard at the door of your consciousness to make sure that what gets in is what you want to get in, which is peace, which is harmony, which is kindness and generosity and compassion. You might have to watch what you think and say to make sure you're not being negative or complaining too much. So to unclutter your consciousness is kind of a two big chunks, the past and then what you let in today. But nobody can do it but you. If we have no other control in life, you can control your thoughts and your mind. And by the way, also meditate, meditate, meditate. So your mind is connected to divine mind. Your consciousness is you are a leaf. You are a leaf on a tree, of one of many leaves on a tree. So we want to feel our interconnectedness. We want to hear the wisdom within us, the divine guidance, what comes up from the root of the trees into our minds. And you cannot do that if you're constantly remulling the past. You know, and by the way, if you don't know if you are, do you talk to yourself in the shower or when you're driving? Do you talk out loud about conversations or about people? That's clutter. So find some mantras for yourself. Find some affirmations. I will only think positive thoughts. I will only say kind and compassionate things. I will forgive everyone for not doing or saying what I want them to do or say. All of this happens within you. Now, so you unclutter your space, you unclutter your mind, you unclutter your calendar, Hmm. So many of us have too many things to do, not enough time for reflection, not enough time for self-care, not enough time for healing or wholeness. We say yes to the things we should be saying no to. We say no to the things we should be saying yes to. Our calendars are full of things we don't want to do with the people we don't want to do them with. You have to unclutter your calendar. Really, it is okay. There's no law that says just because someone asks you, you have to do it. Just because somebody says, can we have lunch? You don't have to have lunch. Just because somebody says, will you help me move? You don't have to help them move. Just because, you understand, you have. Now, part of being a spiritually awakened person is to be loving and compassionate and kind. So when somebody says, I want to have lunch with you, and you check in, right, and you don't want to, I mean, and I don't mean casually. I mean, like, really, it would detract from your writing your book, or you're taking a bath, or you're visiting with your mother. You can say, oh, God, I would love to, but I have other plans. It's okay if that's not true. The other plans could just be plans with you and yourself. So take a look at your calendar and just see if it's balanced, spiritually balanced. Are you doing things you love with the people you love to do things with? Are you gardening? Are you writing? Are you meditating? Unclutter your calendar. And then the final one is really to unclutter your body. Now, I kind of think that it's all tied together, that our uncluttered consciousness is really the first thing. I kind of started with the physical space, but it's all tied together. So if you start cleaning closets, something will shift inside of your mind, inside of your consciousness. If you shift your consciousness, how you care for yourself and love yourself will change. So your body is uh, clutter is an interesting word to use about your body, but we could love our bodies more. Good, enough water, good healthy food, exercise, and quiet time. Sometimes we take, I'm sure this isn't any of us, but sometimes we take over the counter medications rather than doing the right thing for our bodies. So rather than not eating pizza, we take antacids. In my world, that's kind of cluttering up our body temple with chemicals we don't need, both on the side of the pizza and on the side of the preventing heartburn. So uh, I think that to be a spiritually grounded, awakened being, uh, imparting your gifts in the world, acting like a loving, kind, compassionate, generous, joyful person, our bodies have to support us. They have to feel good. They have to have energy and vitality. And we do that by keeping the things out of the body that should not be there and putting things into the body that should be there. Yes, don't you think? Now, all of this is, what does it take? Well, I'm the director of a life of spiritual power, and my byline is vision, commitment, and integrity. So all of this takes those three things. It takes a vision for who you could be, who you might be in the world, rather than a clod of ailments, hoping that the world will make us happy. You might have a vision for writing a book or a play, or traveling, or having foster children. You might have a vision for starting a school or planting a garden. So the vision comes first. And sometimes we need a new vision for our lives, right? It's about growth, about creating ourselves anew. Um, and then the commitment to do it. The commitment means I can be counted on to do what needs to be done in order for me to have a healthy body. And integrity, which is integrity, it's not right or wrong. Integrity just means wholeness, like walking the walk and talking the talk. And listen, by the way, it doesn't matter if you do any of this, really. I mean, it matters, I suppose, if you want to. Uh, it matters, I suppose, to the spirit of us, the authenticity of our self-expression. But it's not good or bad or right or wrong. Um, but in my view, a healthy world starts with healthy people. So if you and I can get healthier, if we can unclutter our space and get more deeply connected to nature and to each other, we will be happier people. And therefore we will create our, where we work will be happier, where we live will be happier. Now I have another quote I love, which is Werner Erhard from the Hunger Project. And he says, you and I want our lives to matter. We want our lives to make a real difference, to be of genuine consequence in the world. We know that there's no satisfaction in merely going through the motions, even if those motions make us successful, or even if we have arranged to make those motions pleasant. We want to know we have had some impact on the world. In fact, you and I want to contribute to the quality of life. We want to make the world work. This is speaks to the authenticity of our spirit, speaks to the deepest desire of every human being alive, and I believe this. I think most people, the reasons we are cluttered is out of fear, not out of the spirit, out of the ego, not out of the spirit. I think if we thought it was possible, we would feed hungry people, we would stop the violence, we would create eco-friendly everything, that we would do our part. So we can do our part. Now, your life in your mind, your cluttered life and your cluttered mind, think of them like a raging ocean. Like there's no calm or peace. There's just this chaos and drama and highs and lows. And I think we're all a little bit dedicated to drama, committed to drama, addicted to drama is probably a better word. We're used to it. We are used to trying to catch up on sleep. We're used to trying to figure out how to get things done when there's not enough time. We don't get enough sleep. There's not enough love. I think that's the norm. But we are not the norm. We are spiritual warriors who are committed to living a life that makes a difference. So it reminds me of this wonderful koan of this the student who was studying under a teacher, a Buddhist teacher, and he says to his master, he says, "Master, I so covet the peace. I want what you have. I want peace and calm. Please take me to that place. Take me to that peaceful place." And the master says, "Oh, my dear devotee, I cannot take you to that place, because if I take you to that place, it will no longer be peaceful." And that speaks to who we are, that the work, we have to do our work from the inside. It cannot be really given to us. We can be shown the way, but the way must be taken by us. So do the work, because then two things will happen. Your life will become like a peaceful lake rather than a raging ocean. And you will be able to dance in the room that you call your life. You will have space to create a life that you love, that you use, and that is meaningful to you. So that's our lesson for today. Unclutter your body, unclutter your mind, unclutter your calendar, and unclutter your physical space, all in the name of moving into the space of being a spiritually awakened being. Yes? Yes. All right. So that is our lesson for today. A couple of announcements. One is if you are interested in making a love offering to my ministry, you can do that through my website, where you can also see some wonderful photos of African animals, where I'm going back to Africa on February 11th. You can also Zelle or PayPal me at revdschubert@gmail.com. And Our next SNA, Sunday Night Alive, will be next week. And it is Love Your Life, then Life Love You Back. I'm very excited about that topic as well, kind of downloaded for me today. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to pray us out. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I love being here with you. And so hopefully you know where your work is, where you can unclutter. And every little bit helps, by the way. This is not, you don't have to, I'm kind of a radical human being. And once I kind of get something, I just kind of go for it. But not everybody moves at the speed of light. So you can just take tiny steps, but really just pay attention to what you're paying attention to and allow for inner wisdom, and it will show up for you. And so join me for the final moments in prayer. Just recognizing that there is a power, there is a presence, there is some infinite intelligence and wisdom, some unconditional love, some perfect peace that is not of us, but is in us, that is not only in us, but is surrounding us. I call it God, but you can call it life, you can call it the quantum field, you can call it love. But out of that, everything has been made. We do not make ourselves. And so I recognize that who I am is made by and out of love, wisdom, and peace. And so I am one with my Creator. Whatever it is, I am. And as I know that this is true for me, I know it's true for you. You and God are one. You are created by it, out of it. Everything it is, you are. And so this is true for all of us, that we don't have to go looking for it. We don't have to go buy it. We don't have to collect it. It is who we are now. And then in truth, we need so very little other than these qualities of the divine in order to live happy, peaceful lives. So it is recognizing that our thoughts precede the activities of our life, and our thoughts and our words are connected, that I speak my word for and about each person tonight who is here with me or within the sound of my voice, knowing divine and perfect right action in every area of your living, whether it's your home, your pocketbook, your calendar, your body, your thoughts, that it is ordered by the intelligence that orders the entire universe. Our job is to let go and let God. Our job is to not fret in anything, but to let everything natural come in. How we do this is we love it. We look to see what we love, what we like, what feels good, and we make room for it. We make it welcomed into our experience. And that all we must do is let go of everything else. How easy can that be? Take what you love, let go of what you don't. Take what feels good, let go of what doesn't. And so I know that this is, if there was a divine intention, it is God's intention that we are happy, fulfilled, joyful, peaceful people. And so I welcome into our experience the calm, peaceful lake of our lives, the rooms into which we can dance. And with all of this, I simply just release my word, accepting the fulfillment of it, knowing that it is guaranteed by the laws of life. I invite you to join me and let it be as it is, and so it is. Amen, amen, ashe. All right, beloveds, loved being with you tonight. Loved tonight's topic. I'm going to go clean something myself, and I will see you next week for Loving Life. Peace and blessings.